Seat to just settle in for a moment. You can come to sit up on a block, a pillow, or just the ground if that feels comfortable for you. And we'll start to center in. This is going to be a little bit more of like a chill morning full body stretch flow. So we're not going to build too much heat, but rather really work on opening up the full range of the body. Start by placing your hands down on your lap, on your knees, on your thighs, and close your eyes. Take a moment to settle into this space on your mat and connect to a deeper, fuller breath. Sometimes by simply taking a seat and activating our breath can bring us to a place where it's calming us down and bringing us more into that flow state. Begin to open your mouth and release any breath that you're holding in the lungs. HA. Inhale fully through your nose. Exhale completely through the mouth. One more full expansive inhale. Big open mouth release. HA. Join your hands in a prayer, Anjali Mudra. And give yourself a subtle bow of gratitude for showing up for your practice today. Lift your skull up and come to actually lie down on the back to start. Have your block nearby in arm's reach. I'm going to turn this light on so it's a little bit brighter for us. When you arrive on your back, bend your knees and start to just create little windshield wipers through your knees. So you're bringing your knees over towards the left and then over towards the right, warming up your hips and your spine a few times. Your arms could rest at a cactus shape if that feels opening and something that you would like. Otherwise, arms at a T is a little bit less intense for opening up the heart and the chest. And the next time your knees land through center, allow them to pause there. Pull your knees so they're in line with your hips, and then your shins are parallel to the earth. Flex your toes back towards the ankles and pull your navel in towards the spine. Your sit bones are going to lift up a little bit. Your whole back will be now pressing into the mat, your whole lower back primarily. And bring your hands to your thighs. We're starting off with a little abdominal bracing to activate the core. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, press your hands into your thighs with about 3 to 4 pounds of pressure in each hand into the thigh. And you can add a little breath here to help turn on the diaphragmatic muscles. Inhale. Exhale, like you're telling kids to be quiet, go shh. 2 more breaths like that. Inhale. And exhale. Shh. One more big breath in. And exhale, release. Lower your feet down, but keep that engagement in your core so the back is still pressing against the mat. Bring your hands to the narrow or the smallest part of the block and firm your block with your palms. So you're not holding it with your fingers, but rather you're just firming your hands against the block. Stretch your block towards the ceiling. You might notice here that this re-engages your core, pulling the low ribs in and making the back nice and flat on that lower part of the spine, or rather rounded. Pull your shoulders back, keep that engagement in the low belly, and slow and controlled, bring your block overhead without lifting the low back off of the mat. So this is a shoulder opener, but simultaneously it's also really big core work. So just move at your own pace here. You're going to do about 3 to 5 repetitions of bringing your block overhead and then back up, really focusing on not lifting your low back off of the earth. Connect to your breath as you move through these. You can start to cultivate your Ujjayi breath, breathing in and out through the nose with a little constriction in the back of the throat. Take 2 more rounds of movement here. Next time your block makes it up in line with your eyes, move your block off to the side. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze and start to create circles with your knees in one direction. And take those circles with your knees in the other direction, massaging the low part of the back, the sacrum. From here, ground your feet. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Pull your right knee in towards your chest. Interlace your hands around your right thigh. Keep that activation in the feet. Flex, especially your left toes, back towards your ankle. If you're more open in the hips here, it may feel better to interlace your hands around your shin. Find whatever variation suits you and your body, and breathe. One of the greatest things about the practice of yoga is it kind of forces us to slow down, to sit with our breath, and to sit with our thoughts throughout practice. So rather than trying to push forward and thinking about the next thing, allow yourself and your body to slow down in this moment. Release your hands from your shin. Take a breath in. You still have the figure 4 shape in your legs. Bring your figure 4 legs over towards the right. Ground your left foot. Maybe you use your right hand to grab the left ankle or foot. And send your left knee high towards the ceiling or even towards the front of the mat. Breathe. And if you're not feeling this one very much, it can be helpful to bring your foot closer. I don't have the most open hips, so I'm not the best example of this, but bringing the foot closer towards the midline and higher up towards the shoulder will help open up through that hip and give you more sensation through the outer hip. And as you breathe, breathe into the places that you're stretching, giving an energetic expansion to your muscle. Re-engage your obliques, your core. Inhale, bring your legs back through center. From here, with your left hand, grab the outside edge of your left foot. Straighten your right leg out long and come to a half happy baby shape. Press the right thigh down into the earth and pull your left foot down as you press your foot up into your hand. You can stay here in this half happy baby shape or play with straightening your leg off towards the left and then bending it back in. And straighten doesn't have to be all the way, so it could be coming towards straight and then maybe you feel like, okay, that's as much as I want to go, just pull it back in. And from here we'll move to a spinal twist. Bring your hands to the top of the shin, the left shin or knee. Take a breath in, squeeze your knee way and wide towards the armpit. Release your left arm to a cactus. Inhale. Exhale, twist, roll to the outside edge of the right thigh. Gaze towards the left. You can keep your right hand on the left thigh, giving you a little adjustment here for yourself. Glue your left shoulder blade down into the ground as you stretch your left hip towards the right corner of the mat. On an inhale, find Gomukhasana legs. So cross your knees, pull your legs back in through center, grab for the outside edges of your heels. And so this one's going to stretch your hips, but in a completely different way. You're touching on internal rotation of the thigh instead of external rotation. If you want less of a stretch, pull the heels closer towards the sit bones, the hips. If you want more of a stretch, bring your feet a little farther away from you and pull your feet towards your body. Stay really active through the feet. Flex the feet back towards the ankles so you're protecting that outer edge of the shin and the ankle space. Take 2 more breaths here. Slowly release, unwind through your legs, lower the soles of the feet back down and create that windshield wiper through your knees, back and forth and side to side a few times. Land with your knees in line with your hips, coming back to the abdominal bracing. Flex your toes back towards your ankles, pull the low ribs in. And with this one, I'm going to ask you to lift the sit bones a little bit higher. If you want a place to rest your hands, you can put them on top of your thighs. And instead of really pressing, you're just trying to keep your butt off of the ground, and maybe your sacrum is still on the ground, but the flesh of the butt is lifted off, and you should feel your deep core abdominals really starting to light up here. Stay connected to the breath, and if it starts to burn, you want to hold about 10 to 15 seconds after you feel that core really start to burn and wake up. Take about 5 cycles of breath here. After your last cycle of breath, release your feet down. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. Pull your left knee in, interlace your hands around your left thigh, and flex your feet back towards your ankles. Or again, you can interlace around the shin if that feels more suitable for you. Inhale. As you exhale, send your figure four legs over towards the left. Use your left hand to grab the top of the right foot and send your right knee up towards the ceiling to get more intensity in your stretch. As you breathe, breathe into the outer right hip. Engage through your obliques. Pull your legs back through center. Bring your right hand to the outside edge of your right foot. Straighten your left leg out on the mat and pull your right foot down as you press your foot up towards the ceiling so your shin is perpendicular to the mat here in half happy baby. Stay here or play with a little pulsing, working that right foot way out towards the right and then bending your knee back in. The hip stays open the whole time, and really what you're doing is you're just bringing your knee from flexion to extension, and maybe you don't extend all the way. And breathe. From here, bring your hands to the top of the knee. Pull your knee way and wide towards the armpit. Keep the left hand on the knee. Right arm comes to a cactus or a T. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Roll to the outside edge of your left hip. Gaze towards the right or just towards the ceiling if you'd rather stay more neutral through your neck. On your next inhale, cross your right leg over your left, pull the knees in and grab for the outside edges of your heels. Go Mukhasana, cow face shape on your back. It can be helpful to really work to stack your knees here as much as possible before grabbing for the feet. So if it feels like they're not stacking, bring your hands to your knees and kind of manipulate them to stack and then grab for the feet. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Slowly unwind, lower your feet down, create those windshield wiping motions side to side and left to right, releasing any tension that built in your hips. And then pause and stretch your legs up high towards the sky. Reach your hands up towards your toes, and this can be as hard or as easy as you want it to be. So lift your shoulder blades up, tap your left wrist to the right toe, and the right wrist to the left toe. So it's our third cycle of abs here, and you're just gonna keep moving here through these pulses. And if your wrist doesn't touch your toe, maybe it's your fingertips. Maybe you're not touching your foot at all. That's not the point of this exercise. Keep your shoulder blades off the mat and press your low back down into the ground to wake up the core. If you want more intensity here, really focus on not moving very quickly. So you're moving slow and controlled for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull your knees in. Start to rock and roll. Bring your hands behind your thighs. Massage the back. And you're going to rock your way up to a seat. Send your knees off to the side and come to a tabletop position. Spread nice and evenly and wide through your fingers. Pull back through the fingertips so you have hands that are ready to be able to support you with a nice clear foundation. See that your wrist creases line up with the front of the mat. Inhale, lift your tailbone up. Pull your hands back towards your hips, cow spine, spinal extension. Exhale, round. Press your hands and your knees into the mat to a deep flexion. Press the tops of the feet down. Inhale, lift and articulate from the tailbone all the way into your cow spine. Exhale, round to a deep, full cat spine. Come to a more neutral position. Walk your knees back, maybe 4 inches, and tuck your toes, lift your hips up to a downward facing dog. It's probably the first down dog of the day, and if that is true for you, pedal it out. Push one heel down and then the other. And you can take any other micro movements that feel good for you and your expression in down dog. And breathe. And then once you've pedaled it out a little bit, try shifting your heels. So bring your heels towards the left, bend your knees. Spike your heels, bring your heels towards the right, bend your knees. One more on each side, take it to the left, and take it to the right. Come back to your neutral down dog. Inhale, come high onto your tiptoes and wave your spine forward to a plank. Press the earth away. Lower your knees, half push up, hold it for 3, 2, 1. Lower your hips. Inhale and pull your heart through. Tug your hands back towards the hips. Take it back, child's pose, forehead to the mat. Thread the needle. Weave your left arm through the right. Find a little shoulder stretch. Press your right palm into the mat and tug your left arm back into space. Unwind, come back through center, weave your right arm through the left, find the shoulder stretch in the other side. Come all the way back through center, grab your block, bring your block in between your hands, lower your elbows to the mat, and then bring the block behind your skull. Now this one's probably a little different, but it's really great for strengthening your shoulders, your rotator muscles. So with your block in between your hands, it should kind of be resting on your head. It's going to seem a little funky. Stretch your hands away from your block and then squeeze the block and kind of pulse like that. You're bringing your hands towards your outer shoulders and then bringing them back in towards your inner shoulders. And this micro movement is really waking up those rotator cuff muscles, telling them to turn on in a really structured fashion. Take about 5 more pulses. And the next time you have your block, extend your arms out long, Move your block off to the side. Rise up through that tabletop shape. Tuck your toes and lift your hips up to a downward facing dog. From your down dog, walk your feet up to your mat, or walk your feet up towards your hands to the front of the mat. Make your feet as wide as mat's distance apart. Look at your feet and see that the outside edge of your feet are in line with the long edge of the mat. Counter stretch your hands forward as you send your hips back into space. I have a block underneath my hands and I have really open hamstrings. I can do the splits, but that doesn't mean that the block doesn't have value here, right? So in order to counter stretch and have a nice long spine, this block is giving me more length to stretch in both directions through my spine. To add a little more structure, squeeze your outer shins in towards the midline. Send your upper inner thighs way wide back and apart and keep a micro bend in your knees so you're not hyperextending here. With each breath, breathe into the back of the body, creating more space in the back of the lungs. And on your exhale, pull navel in towards spine. On an inhale, halfway lift, load the weight into your heels, glide your hands up your shins, find a nice long spine. Press down into the earth to rise up and step your feet back to hip distance apart. Tadasana, mountain pose. Spread through your toes and stay active through your legs. Inhale, reach your arms high to the sky. Exhale, grab your right wrist, side bend up and over towards the left. Tug on your wrist. Inhale, come back through center. Switch your clasp and take that side bend up and over the other way. Inhale, rise through center. Exhale, cactus your arms, bring your palate back into space. Open up through your heart. Inhale, pull navel to spine. Reach your arms high. Exhale, rotation of the spine. Bring your right arm back, left arm forward. Keep your hip points facing the front of the mat. Inhale, circle your right arm down, come back to center. And exhale, take the twist the other way. Maybe you shift your gaze towards the hand that's going behind you. Inhale, come back through center, reach up. And exhale, hinge at the hips forward, fold, come all the way down. Bend your knees a little bit so you have some buoyancy there. Interlace your hands behind your back. Lift your shoulders up and drop your hands over the back body. Unlock through your elbow joint so you have a little micro bend there. And same action in this forward fold. Hug your outer shins in and send your upper inner thighs back. Send your sit bones higher to the sky. And so we can really get a really deep stretch in the back of the legs, keeping our knees bent and bringing our thigh bones back rather than locking out that knee joint. Release your hands down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, find length. Exhale, fold, step your left leg back into space. Start to straighten out through your right leg. This is also a good option if the earth feels too far away. You can place the block on the inside edge of your right foot. Press your right big toe down into the mat and tug back so you feel the whole back of the leg tone. From the pelvis, stretch down and out through your legs, long through the spine. Maybe bow your shin a little bit more towards bow your head more towards your shin, rather. Inhale and bend into your front knee. Take a twist. Bring your right arm towards the left shoulder. Press that shoulder bone back and reach your right arm high to the sky. So our hips are nice and open now from what we did. Lower your left arm down to the mat. Spin to the outside edge of your back foot and right away heel toe your front foot halfway down the mat. Both of those actions kind of happen simultaneously. Inhale, lift your hips up. Reach your right arm in line with your ear. Exhale, release your hips down. Bring your arm by your side. Inhale, reach up. So you're finding a modified side plank here. And then release your hips down any amount, bring the right arm behind you. Last time, inhale, lift up, lengthen. From here, step back to your plank pose. It can be any variation. You could stagger your feet, stack your feet, lift a leg. Take an inhale. Exhale, tap your left rib cage with your right hand. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, tap it down. One more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower and tap. Inhale, reach up. This time, plank pose. Press the earth away. Lower your left forearm down and your right forearm down. Hold your forearm plank for 3 breaths. As you breathe here, imagine you're pulling all of the organs up into the back plane of the body here. And release your hips down, Sphinx pose. Energize through your legs. Press the tops of the toes down into the mat. Bring your right ear over towards your right shoulder. Tuck your chin more towards the collarbone. Bring your left ear over towards your left shoulder and lift your skull up a little. And just move through these neck postures. And bring your skull back through center. Quad stretch. Pull your right heel towards your sit bone. Reach around with your right hand to grab your foot. Actively kick your foot into your hand as you pull the heel towards the outer hip. Stay heavy through both hips. If you're really tight in your thighs, the tendency may be to lift the right hip up a little bit, but keep them heavy and stay engaged with the belly. Stay committed to breathing in and out through your nose and really honoring that even fluctuation of the breath as you practice. It's called Samavriti Pranayama in Sanskrit, helping to create a little bit more focus and clarity for the mind. Slowly release your foot. If your knees escape the midline, pull them back in and just second side. Reach your left hand around to grab for your foot. Slowly release your foot. Soften your chest down to the mat. Bring your arms to a cactus shape and see that your elbows are lining up with your shoulders in this cactus shape. So other people call it a goalpost. That might make more sense for you. Walk your right hand fingertips in towards your face. Send your right elbow towards the ceiling and start to pivot to the outside edge of your left hip. So you're targeting your pecs and your chest here. Breathe more breath into your chest, particularly that left side. Take one more breath here. And come back to center. Second side, line up your right elbow with your right shoulder and take the little pivot to the outside edge of your right hip. You can crawl your left hand fingertips in towards your face and plug your left shoulder bone deeper into the socket. One way that you can kind of check to see if it's plugged in is send your left elbow farther away from the midline and then pull that left elbow in towards the midline. And that is plugging your upper arm bone into the socket. Slowly come back towards center. Bring your fingertips now by your sides. Come on to attentive fingertips. Engage through the legs and start to lift through your head and your chest and your arms. Lift your feet up. Squeeze your shins in, locust pose or shalabhasana. Use your inhale to get a little bit more length and hold that length. And as you exhale, stay where you're at. Take one more breath. Inhale, find that length. Exhale, lower all the way down. Bring your hands by your chest. Inhale, rise up through cobra or up dog. Up dog only, your hands and your feet are on the mat, and you pull the heart through. Tuck your toes, lift your hips up. Downward facing dog. From your down dog, start to walk your feet all the way up to the front of the mat. Find a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, fold. Press into your feet. Inhale, circle sweep. Reach your arms high to the sky. Exhale, palms to heart center. Inhale, reach up. Grab your right wrist, bring your right foot behind you, and start to take a little side bend over towards the left. And you coming to the outside edge of that right foot that's behind you. Press down into the left foot, come back through center. Switch your clasp and take the side bend the other way. Send your left hip forward as you pull that right hip back into space. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, cactus your arms open through the heart. Inhale, engage navel to spine. Exhale, sink your hips low, Utkatasana chair pose. Pull the belly up and in and send your hips back into space. Inhale. Exhale, sink your chair a little deeper. 2 more breaths like that. Inhale. Exhale, sink it down. Last time, inhale. Exhale, sink. This time, breath in. Exhale, hinge at your hips, forward folds. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, fold, step your right leg way back. This time, straighten out through your left knee. You can come onto the block if the earth feels far away. Pull the left hip back as your right hip wraps forward. Energize through the legs, and from the pelvis, stretch down and out through the legs, long through the spine, bowing the head towards the shin, if that's available for you. Inhale, bend into your front knee. Use your left hand. Press your right shoulder back into space. Ground your right hand on the mat. Press your collarbone and reach your left arm high to the sky. Lunge, twist. Bring the sides of the neck back and the throat back into space. And then one action here. So I'm going to cue 2 different things, but they happen at the same time. Spin to the outside edge of your back foot and bring your front foot halfway down the mat. Point your toes towards the left of the mat. Inhale, lift your hips up, reach your arm in line with your ear. Exhale, release your hips any amount and bring your left arm by that right leg. Inhale, reach up, lengthen. Exhale, lower it down. One more like that. Inhale, reach up and lengthen. And exhale, lower. This time, reach up, find your version of your side plank. Make sure it's a place where you can feel stable for at least these few moves. Inhale, reach your left arm high. Exhale, tap your left arm to the right rib cage. Inhale, reach it up and long. Exhale, tap to the rib cage. Last time, inhale, reach. And exhale, tap. Inhale, reach high. Lower the left arm down to the mat and you land in a plank pose. Shift your shoulders past your wrist, half push-up. Lower your hips, pull the heart through to a cobra pose, and tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back to a downward facing dog. Breathe in, and to breathe out. Inhale, reach your right leg high towards the sky, point your toes down. Bend your knee and open your hips. Squeeze your heel now towards the sit bone. Make your knee the highest point of the pose. Lift up more through your left shoulder. Create some circles through that right knee in one direction. And take those circles through your right knee in the other direction. Inhale, straighten out through your leg and square your hip. Exhale, pull your right knee towards your right wrist, pigeon pose. When you land in the pigeon, walk your left knee, your back knee back into space just a little. Stay upright through your pigeon here. So there's options in pigeon. There's a lot of different variations here. Today we're going to go for a quad stretch. So squeeze your legs towards one another. And if it's hard to balance and stay upright, bring a block to the outside edge of the right hip. Now from this place, pull your back heel towards your sit bone. Reach around with your hand to grab your foot. Maybe you stay here. Maybe this is a really deep stretch for you. But if you want to go deeper, you can pull your heel towards your outer hip. Wrap the left hip forward as the right hip pulls back. And maybe you play with balancing and releasing your hand from that block. Breathe. Slowly release your foot. Soften your chest down to a sleeping pigeon. Rest your head on your hands for a little pillow. From the pelvis, expand out and long through that left leg, through the toes, and up and long through the spine, out the crown, taking up space in both directions. Reconnect your hands underneath your elbows. Start to rise up, tuck your toes, and reach your right leg high to the sky. Bend your knee, open your hip. If you'd like to, you can flip your dog. Come to the outside edge of your left foot. Tap your right foot on the mat and lift through the hips. Open up through the heart. Turn your chest more towards the ceiling. Engage through those glutes as you press your shoulder blades onto the back of the ribs. Unwind, bring your right hand down to the mat, reach your right leg up, and lower your foot down, downward facing dog. From this, inhale, come high to a plank pose. Skip chaturanga, pull your heart through, up dog. Squeeze your shins in, tuck the toes, and lift your hips up to a downward facing dog, second side. Inhale, reach your left leg high. Bend your knee and open your hip. Start to create those circles through your knee in one direction. And take those circles with your knee in the other direction. Inhale, straighten out through your legs, square your hip. Maybe look down, see that your toes are pointing straight down, and pull your left knee towards your left wrist. Pigeon pose. And so, for me in my pigeon, since my hips are tighter, my foot's going to be way closer towards my pelvis. But if you are more open, you could try bringing the foot a little farther up on the mat to see what that does for you. Bring your block now over towards the left hip. Squeeze your knees towards one another. So your pelvis is actually going to lift a little bit here when you're in this upright pigeon pose. When you're ready, you pull the back heel towards your sit bone, reach around with your right hand, grab for the big toe side of your foot. And I don't know if I said this on the other side, but you can flip your grip by facing your fingertips forward here if you have the mobility in your shoulder. Keep squeezing the knees in. And from the pelvis, expand out and long through the legs, up through the torso, out through the crown. 2 more breaths in this deep quad stretch. Slowly release and bring your chest forward. If you do want to try going for that more deep open hip stretch when you come forward, that's kind of your chance to try bringing your foot or your shin more parallel to the mat. As you can see in the picture, my right hip is completely opening. I just don't have the mobility for it. And that's a sign. If you bring your shin to the front of the mat and the back hip just completely opens, maybe you back off a little and pull your heel closer towards your pelvis so that the pelvis has a chance to square. Slowly start to rise back up, and you can move through downward facing dog, or if it feels okay for you, just come to a seat or maybe just windshield wiper to let go of any tightness that built up from that stretch. And then from here, options, right? So you can come to your back and find a Shavasana shape and relax through the rest of class in that shape. Or the invitation would be to actually stay upright and do a little closing breath work and meditation for just a few minutes, not too long. So you pick what works for you. You can also do that laying down on your back. Coming back to where we began, close your eyes and return to the breath, the life force, and just notice what may have shifted for you since you stepped on your mat today to slow down and to show up for yourself, for your body, for your mind, for your spirit. As you breathe here, let any tension that you're holding in your breath go. So let go of any ujjayi breath. Allow the belly to stay soft. And just watch your breath move in and out of you. Slowly blink your eyes open. Look around the space. Bring the light back in. Bring your hands to a prayer Anjali Mudra by heart center. Bring the thumb up to the third eye. Inhale. Open mouth, release, exhale. We bow to ourselves. We bow to one another, and we bow to the lineages of yoga. Namaste.